All right. Here we go. I'm just going to pause it up and go back here for a second. Chazz, I'll kick you off too for a minute and we'll bring you back on. Hello, everyone. We're running late today, folks. That's okay. It's Thursday. We're allowed to run late. It happens. I'm just spilling the beans early. That's all. It's all good. I'm excited. We have a fantastic guest with us on today in a little bit. And Chazz is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fantastic going through here. Chazz, I think your camera's still on, bud.
Oh,
it's all good, though.
Turn it off?
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. There.
No worries. No worries. Take a chance. Look through the chat. Hello, everyone. I see Boston here, Grand Prairie, Ottawa, Tampa, Florida. This is exciting. We're going to go through some fun stuff today. We have a really cool guest with us. I'm so pumped. I feel energy already. Sad news, everyone. Miss Carmen's not here with us today. It's all good. She's just doing a couple things in the background today, and we have Miss Kaya joining us, but we'll dive through a minute or two, and we'll get started here. Not to fret, just to give you guys a chance to settle on in. I see Indiana, Hawaii. Hola, Hawaii. Hello, Brooklyn. I was talking to Brooklyn last night. Not specifically, but no, my brother-in-law is down in Brooklyn, New York. He works and lives down there. So hello, everybody. I see Virginia, Halifax. I see New Jersey. Good. I know it's good morning in Hawaii. I still can't believe that. I feel like you guys are so close yet so far away. It's perfect weather in California. Shh. It's gray. It's dark. And the big S is coming, snowing in Edmonton. Oh, hello. Yeah, it's coming our way. We're getting there. It's almost November 1, and it be time. I'm going to give everyone just a minute or two more to settle in. Hope everyone's doing well. Hello, PEI, Brampton. Hope that everything is going okay. The curve may be flattening. I don't know. I don't know where we're at anymore, folks. I'm just staying away from the social media a little bit just to give myself some time to space out. I see Chazz on chat. This is exciting, everybody. Please say hello to him. Welcome him. He is our special guest for today, but we'll dive in a little bit more in a few minutes. Cover a few things with you guys. Let's get jumping in here and dive in. And as always, for those who've never been with us, if this is your first webinar, welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your, we're on number 28. If you've been with us from the beginning or not, it doesn't matter if this is your first webinar at all or your 50th. I am not the face of legal advice. Nobody is the face of legal advice on here. Just to make sure. Didn't go to law school. Just want to make sure that guys, at the end of the day, you're taking away tips, tricks, suggestions, things you can implement. And by the way, hello, I just saw someone, Uganda? Hello, Uganda. What time is it over there? That's my big question. What you can expect from us today, as always, okay? The session is recorded. Don't worry. Session's recorded. We're going to make it available to you. So if you do want to watch the session again, it will be in with the show notes and it will be up on the Hi Mama website, as always, with the slides. Certificate, it will be made available here for you at the end of the webinar, as well as in the show notes. So don't fret if you have to miss out, leave, bad connection, whatever it may be. Don't worry there. Okay. As well, resources, or any links that we have, please don't be shy. They're going to be in the show notes. So if you feel like you've missed something, don't worry about there. As well, for connection, I know we do have connection issues now and then. Please just refresh, reconnect. Sometimes we have had suggestions that if you're on particular browsers, some browsers work better than others. So if you wanted to play around with that. Stacy, I love that. The storms are brewing, and guys, she's got a pumpkin, a ghost, and a smiley face. Love it. Miss Kaya, get on here. This girl.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Kaya is with me today. How about this, Kaya? If maybe somebody's first webinar, maybe share like a special fact or something about you. Oh, and I have to think of one.
I know. I should have prepared this before. Let's see here.
I'm running out.
I know. We are running out. Fun fact about me, kind of weird, but fun nonetheless. So my birthmark is in the shape of the state I was born in, which is Tennessee. I don't know if there's anyone from Tennessee on here, but I wish I could show you guys, but it's like actually in the shape of Tennessee. And there's a freckle on the city that I was born in, which is Chattanooga, if anyone is from around that area. Super weird fun fact. It's a great party trick that I have more than anything. That's about me.
What?
Yeah, and I do live here in Toronto, so I am very, very far away from home, but Toronto is now my home.
I'm super excited that A, you're with me today, and B, hosting. I love having another ECE on, and it just adds so much fun and excitement. For me, fun fact, oh my goodness, I lived in Barcelona for a year. I think I'm running out. Like, I honestly have to really think hard about these. You've seen him on the chat. Please welcome him. We're going to bring him on a little bit, but Chazz Lewis is joining us today. By all means, I've been so excited for this webinar since we talked about having Chazz on and getting him organized to get on here. And just feel like there's so much that needs to be said, and it's going to be fantastic. So bring him on in a little bit. Ms. Kaya, here, take the stage. I'm going to move over so you can tell us a little bit about this guy here.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So we are currently running a contest here at Hi Mama. We want to give away $500 to an educator who uploads a photo of your COVID-friendly classroom. So what does that mean? That's a classroom that is socially distanced, has amazing activities that are socially distanced and COVID-friendly. We want to see those photos, and we are running the contest now until November 12th. So all you have to do is log on to either Instagram or Facebook and upload a photo there. So upload it to either your feed on Facebook or Instagram. Make sure you tag us so we can see it. Otherwise, we can't see it. And then head over to Facebook and click follow. Those are literally the 2 steps that you have to do. Just upload a photo, make sure we can see it, and click follow on Facebook. And we are going to be announcing the lucky winner on Facebook Live on Thursday, November 12th. So if you want $500, go take a photo of your classroom, tag us, and we can't wait to see all those amazing photos.
Amazing. I can't wait. It sounds so fun. All right, today, really, I'm not going to be spending too much time chatting today because, like, really, let's be honest. You guys come to see the guest, not me. Maybe me. Flatter me a little. I'm just kidding. Let's talk a little bit more about what we're covering today. So I wanted to touch base on a little bit about mental health. Like, this is a big thing right now. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, and I just wanted to make sure, that we're not just checking in on our own personal mental health, but making sure to check in on our children and support our parents. And we're going to talk a little bit more with Chazz about that, talk about like some of this impact of virtual learning. And ideally, the floor is open. I cannot wait, guys. Any questions, send them on in. Obviously make them relevant, folks. Don't be a little crazy here. But at the end of the day, we're talking about supporting families and talking about how, teachers can lead and be a part of what's going on in a family, as well as being able to help support those kiddos. So it's a full circle right now. And obviously as well, don't forget about yourself. We've talked about that over many webinars. Let's dive in. First of all, I love this. I'm okay. I'm not okay. We've always, I've been a huge advocate for making sure that children are allowed to say they're not okay. And it's huge across the board. And I want to make sure, just like kind of remind that, they are allowed to not be okay, even though they are, they're little people and they're maybe a little detached from what is happening, depending on their age, of course. But, check in on those kiddos. We've had a couple of previous webinar guests who've talked a lot about how to, work with children who have anxiety, and especially anxiety right now from just what's happening in the world. It's not what our regular was. And we're just kind of having to stick with it for now until we figure out our things. But reminder that, anxiety in children and, mental health in children looks a lot different than it can in an adult. We're equipped with the vocabulary of adults, whereas children are not. So it definitely comes out in different formats, different styles. And, you have to dig. You have to dig a little bit with a child to find out kind of really what's going on deep down. They can't express all the time from what they do have. So they may act out, they may, show physical signs, and even some of that can just be even, a child potentially who's a little older and they are starting to, maybe wet the bed again at night or something mysterious like that. It's common for anxiety to come out in ways like that right now in children, and just across the board. Doesn't matter if there's a pandemic happening or not. This very typical and very, very much part of what's happening. A little bit more, tip wise on what you can do. And I did a little digging on this one here, and was looking back on one of our, like I said, our past webinars that we were talking a little bit more into tips and tricks that you can. And as an educator, or even as a parent, continuing to make your environment safe. So maybe if you're home, you need to create maybe just like a special place your child can go. Or if you're in a classroom, continuing to do what you're doing, because every educator is amazing right now and doing some great things out there. And I don't want you to feel underappreciated. And, at the end of the day, though, we've had to get rid of some of those special things that help create a safe place. So whether that's a cozy corner or things like that, maybe look into other ways. And it's a little tricky too, but other ways to help support a safe environment. So give them some control back a little bit. That will help. And as well, predictable routine. Try not to maybe just change up the routine, severely change up the routine too much. You're the model as much as you can. And I know that especially right now, like your teacher may not be okay. Your coworker may not be okay for them, and really support what's happening with their emotions and let them have those emotions. Looking to take some time, assess that child. If they're an older child, you potentially can have like a further conversation with that child, and, maybe don't put words in their mouth, just let them and allow them to open up about what's going on in their vocabulary. And you may have to take it and digest it to really figure out what is actually happening. And one of the suggestions I actually read in a nice survey article, was some worry time in the children to pick specific emotions and talk about their emotions that they were having. And I think that could definitely be a very interesting and key part and parcel. Parents, woo! That's one. Parent, you're a parent. We all have different types of parents. Whoever you are, parents are stressed to the max. Teachers are stressed to the max. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. The stress bar went past 11. And let's be honest here. Parents definitely are, maybe just a little bit more open about what exactly that piece is. So be open. Be that person that they can turn to, that you're offering up facts, just support them in ways that you can, and obviously continue to support them in ways that you can. And, one of the things Corey Berg had talked a lot about over the session, we had her on there, and remember that you won't have all the answers. None of us will have all of the answers, by no means. We're working on this together. And I'd say continue with that one with parents, and take it one step at a time. Okay. It will be okay. We will all get through it. There may not be a tunnel at the end of it right now. That light is a little faded, but we will get there no matter what. Before we dive in, I saw Lucinda on there. Hi, Lucinda. You were with us last week. Fantastic. A couple of people as well. You've been seeing some connection issues. Just refresh, please, or reconnect. I know that it is not. Sometimes it can be a little wonky here, but I want to hear from you. Maybe Kaya, if you want to come back on here and join me up. Support tips for children and families. I want to hear in the chat, just maybe anything and everything you've been doing. Nothing can be wrong, people. Nothing's wrong here. Whether this is a call, maybe you've, Corey Berg, I saw online, if anyone's following her on social media at all, she did a virtual tea party with some grandparents. I thought that was really interesting. It was actually really funny to watch too. And as well, like a couple of people have been doing some Zoom trick-or-treating. Also very interesting feel. Got a couple of people here. They've been asking the children how they feel. Still a couple of frozens. It will come back, guys. Not to worry here or there. Maybe Kaya, I know you've been on our social media here. What have you been seeing, especially in regards to like tips supporting, whether their children or family?
Yeah, that's a really great question. A lot of things that I see on social media lately revolve around like the educators and the families and the parents, and kind of being in check with your own self, because we know as educators, as parents, children pick up on our habits, on our language, on our attitudes, everything we do. Children pick up on that. So if you're calm and you're practicing, mindfulness, children are going to pick up on that, and it's just going to be, a smoother transition, a smoother classroom. Things are just going to go a little bit smoother in general. So I think your attitude can really affect the outcome of your children's attitudes. Even if they're an infant, don't have that language yet, they can still pick up on that. So it's super important to remember.
Totally.
And I do want to shout out, I want to shout out Lucinda real quick. Lucinda, so amazing to have you back.
Yeah.
She was mentioning the children who are here at the center appear to be doing well. So that's great. She says, I think small groups helps. We're hearing that those who remain at home are struggling a little bit, and that's totally understandable. Those small groups, whether if you're in like a bubble, which here in Canada, we've been recommended to bubble family. So your family with another family come together, create a little bubble. Really, really helps. And those small classroom groups as well. We're so lucky kind of right now to look on the bright side of things. With COVID, we're going to have, those smaller ratios to really take advantage of that, to work with those children one-on-one.
I love it. We've had some great things as well coming through, similar to what you've been saying here, asking the children to share their favorite stuffed animals. Lots of Zoom happening, virtual curriculum, phone calls. Fantastic, folks. You guys have been doing some great things here. Before we dive in with Chazz, I'm going to grab a couple more just to see what we get. Here we go. Yeah, the connection's rough today, folks. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I do apologize. Don't worry. We do have the recording. We'll keep going. Let's get on here. Let's get Chazz on here. Get him on and chat with him a little bit more. And Chazz, come on and join us. Well, he's joining us here. Folks, I'm really excited. Chazz is looking at changing the world. And as soon as I saw that title, I went, oh, heck yes. So excited. Looking at, he's really into growth, really into active community growing, and, really committed to those parents. And of course, teachers and parents, big piece right now. Chazz, we're really excited to have you on.
Hey, can you see me? Oh, yep, there.
We can't see you yet. You bumped off, and then you bumped on, and then bumped back off again.
I see.
And then I can hear you though.
You can hear me. Okay.
He's a ghost, everybody. We're just following the Halloween tradition right now.
Like from my end, I'm kind of bumping on and off. It's my first time using this.
It's okay. It could be, to be honest, it could be a webinar jam issue today, potentially. I don't want to ruin the connection or anything right here, but Chazz, maybe don't worry about the video quite yet. We'll at least chat with you because we do have your fabulous voice. Okay. Start with telling us a little bit about you.
Okay. A little bit about me. So I am an educational specialist in a chain of private schools, of childcare facilities. And I am it pretty much means I teach teachers to teach. Anyone who works in early education knows that everyone, especially anyone who is in kind of a management position, wears a million hats. So yeah, I do trainings. I've helped with the onboarding in the company that I work for, which has about 60 schools in the Virginia, in the state of Virginia, mostly in the Northern Virginia area. Okay. But I'm also sometimes covering as a teacher. Sometimes I am the cook. Sometimes I'm acting director. Sometimes I'm a lifeguard. So I really, and really for all the age groups I've worked in and had the opportunity to work with so many different teachers. So I have a lot of varying experience, but I'm really passionate about helping, especially new teachers.
Okay.
And recently more focusing on parents as well. But I've always been passionate about helping new teachers because I remember when I first started working in the classroom and I really struggled because I really didn't know what to do and how to handle conflict. And I thought I was, doing more harm than good because children would be in conflict with each other. And I didn't know if I was solving the problem. Sometimes they more mad, more emotions. I'm like, is this good? Is this bad? And I just remember the stress that I feel. Yep. And I know it's a super, common thing to talk about. I know people joke, like sometimes people in our profession, sometimes people go on break and they never come back. truly empathize and feel for those people, because I remember being in the car and really feeling the stress in my body, not wanting to come back, but just, just not giving up and still stepping in, continuing to collect, going to trainings, learning, reading, listening to podcasts, finding mentors, and a bunch of other things, continuously growing every day. Any classroom, any child, any group of children, I feel very comfortable in. And even with with COVID happening, really changed the game for all the things that we had been used to doing that were good. Now kind of got flipped. Okay, now we can't do that now. So how do we still, and I heard you kind of talk about a little bit before, like how do we meet the needs? Because the needs of children have not changed, just in a pandemic. So how do we still meet those needs while still meeting the criteria for COVID friendly, COVID ready classrooms, and the ever changing, and it's slowed down now, but for a period of time, the ever changing, policies of your state, and not even just your state. It's, and with me working with multiple schools, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here. I'm going to wrap it up, but
that's okay.
me working with multiple schools. So we have the governor's, restrictions, but then there's also individual schools kind of doing some, maybe a little bit more than what the governor is recommending. And so, and then also there's things that we're doing as a company that's also a little bit, the standards or the policies are a little bit different or a little bit more strict than Virginia's policies, and that they were, and with the executive order. So that's a little bit about myself. I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to allow you.
It's all good. I love this part, because really, like, at the end of the day, the conversation goes just so much better, and I'm so excited. Like, I can feel your energy, and I also have like sat in your shoes of walking into the classroom for the first time and just going, oh my God, like it hit me like a brick wall. But you were talking about the pandemic, of course, like that's everybody's frontline conversation today. We really don't have too much more to talk about, let's be real. But step back a little bit for, a lot of people have had a chance to, look a little bit deeper into themselves over the last couple of months. I don't know if you were at our last webinar last week, where we talked a lot about, stepping back and learning about some of the things that really have gone well over the pandemic. But what inspired you really over the last several months, like as a coach, and to start branching out to the parent side and coaching them as well? And obviously I could hear it when you were talking about like your passion behind it. I could see probably why, but tell us a little bit more about your inspiration there.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, I remember, I like completely remember, the feeling of not knowing what to do and feeling like I wasn't helping or not helping as much as I wanted to, with the children growing and raising the next generation of humans. And I had been, my passion had been really more focused on teaching the teachers and helping the teachers in the classroom. But COVID happened, everyone left. The kids left the classroom. Also, most of the teachers left the classroom. And I, for various reasons, I also decided to stop working. Most of our schools continued to stay open, but I decided to stop working. There's personal things happening in my family, just COVID hitting really close to home, and my grandparents. I stopped working, but I still had this intrinsic just passion and need to help people with their children, help people understand children and guide them. And I really, the parents became the teachers. Since the teachers were at home with, their kids, and most of the kids were at home, that the parents became the teachers. And I started to see through social media, the struggle, and, I don't know, what to do, like send help, my kids come. And I started to realize that there's a lot of and it goes a lot deeper than this, but
Yeah.
it was there are things that, people who make understand child development a little bit more, understand children and kind of what they need, that parents don't necessarily know or have the access to the information. And something as simple as giving them, an easel or putting up some paper so that 2-year-old can color with their whole body so that they can meet their need. So they're not meeting their need on your walls, they're meeting their need on paper, cardboard, or the easel. It's something as simple as that can really diffuse the stress of the situation. And and make the experience of being at home with your children a lot more beneficial for both of you. And so I started TikTok had kind of been on my radar for a while, and I was like, well, I don't really know how to make content on TikTok, because when you first get on it, all they show you is like the dancing videos.
It's wild.
Until they get to the algorithm actually figures you out and figures out what kind of content you like. And then for me, after I spent some time on it, it started to send me more of the educational content. And I'm like,
there you go.
How people can benefit from this. And then I started to make content too, and it just really resonated with a lot of people, and it just really started to blow up. And then I started to post on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook and other platforms at my podcast now as well. But just that initially, over the first month or two, people watching my videos and taking my advice. Now I've started to get comments. They haven't stopped. Every day, parents telling me, commenting, messaging, you have literally changed my life and my relationship with my children. And I watch your TikToks every day, and I understand my children so much better. We have so much of a better relationship. I'm able to help and guide them so much more. So it's just really grown from there. And my North Star has always been to, impact as many people as possible and to really help people, and myself as well, but help people enjoy the process of growth. That is really my purpose in life, is to help people enjoy the process of growth.
Chazz, I can just feel so much enthusiasm. I also feel like I could listen to you all day, just so you know. There's so much passion behind what you're saying, and you're so driven, and I love that. And I love that you're getting out there on social media now to, touch as many people's lives as you can. And it definitely will. And it's going to be, you're going to touch one specific parent's life, and it's going to be such a huge difference. And for me, it was always just it just took that one child, and I knew I was making something better. And I feel like you're doing that, not just with the children, but with the parents as well. Let's talk about some challenges. Okay. Of course, we've seen a lot of virtual learning and supporting children at home. Maybe what's been some of your biggest challenges with this? Of course, let's take out the fact that, a lot of schools obviously have turned to virtual learning, so we'll leave that one off to the side. But maybe just the biggest challenge you've seen parents going through right now with supporting their children, working from home, as well as the screen time seems to be hugely impactful right now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And just the simplest one sentence, the biggest challenge is parents trying to keep which is weird, right?
Yeah.
Parents trying to keep their children in front of the screen, which is a weird problem to have, 2020. And it's really not even just keeping them in front of the screen. It's keeping them still and sitting down in front of the screen, and especially the younger kids, especially those 5 and 6-year-olds, and because that's not what they're meant to do, and that's not really what they're meant to learn, and that's not how they learn best. And it's a really tough, and I was talking about this as we were moving to virtual learning. It's a really tough situation to put children in, because already the education system is not optimal for learning and helping children learn and grow and develop. It is optimal for measuring things, and there's a whole conversation about what they're measuring and why, and and is it for the children? But we've taken this broken education system and instead of taking the opportunity you were talking about last week, it was an opportunity for us as individuals to take a step back and to think and, and reflect. And I did the same, kind of, almost like pivoted what I was doing. And that's made a positive impact. And I understand the challenges of doing this, but I wish that we would have taken this time to stop and reflect about education and what it means and how children learn, instead of just putting the broken education system that we have and then just putting it online. I wish we would have really reflected a little bit more. So that's the first thing I want to say. Now, the second thing I want to say is it's the reality that we're in, right? Parents are expected to have their children in front of the screen to do the virtual learning, to get the grade so they can move on to the next grade. And that's what education, that's the reality. And if you didn't opt to do homeschool or do one of those co-ops, then that's where we're at. So how do we work within this reality that we've been given? Few things. And I and the schools that I go to, we do. There are parents who pay for their children to come to our school so that they can do virtual learning here. So we have a variety of age groups doing virtual learning in the same room, socially distanced. And it's been interesting to see how different schools and different people and different age groups are all trying to accomplish the same thing. And like I said, the 5 and the 6-year-olds are the ones I've seen struggle the most, and not just our 5 and 6-year-olds. Like I'll get 5-year-olds, and the 5-year-olds like fidgeting and and I peek in on Zoom meeting, and it's not just the 5-year-old; it's everyone who's kind of like dysregulated, doing this kind of thing. And here's some tips, because I know the tips are important. Like, okay, so what do I do? Like.
Totally.
What do I do? One, I would encourage having as much exercise and physical activity and outside time as possible in the morning before it starts. Because again, like I said before, children's needs have not changed. Just our situation with being in a pandemic has changed. So how do we meet the needs? So that's one. Now, the other thing too, I noticed, and I want to kind of do this by telling a story. It's actually happened in the school that I'm actually at right now. I don't know if anyone's watched the video. I'm actually in the office. So if you hear like kids in the background, but it is. But why? And this was probably maybe like the first or second week, and I was kind of observing. And I always like to observe before I go in, because I like to give the teachers and children space to kind of see what happens, what naturally happens without my intervention, even if I do have some ideas or where I think something should go. So I was observing the 5-year-old, was dysregulated, his first year in, in school, in a public school. And he is watching, but like he is playing with his headphones, right? And then he's playing, and so like, okay, the teacher was like, all right, you need to pay attention to your teacher, stop playing with your headphones. Takes the headphones away. What does the child do? Now they start touching the screen and moving around the screen, and then they constantly logging out accidentally or on purpose, or just whatever. The child is dysregulated, needs to touch and feel things, and that's I'm kind of, as I'm observing, that's what I'm noticing. So, and so I kind of talked to the teacher, and actually before I even talked to the teacher, I was like, let me try something to see what happens. So I got a few Legos, because I know that this child specifically likes Legos. I didn't get a bunch of Legos, but I got 4 Legos. And I said, here, you can, touch this, and, you can have this, but you do have to make sure that you're paying attention to your teacher. And the whole time before this, when he was playing with his headphones, he wasn't focused. He wasn't participating in the class. He wasn't, and especially when he was logging out and touching and messing with the screen, he definitely wasn't participating in the class. He was unmuting himself, and you would hear the teacher say, I'm not going to say the child's name, but mute You hear that over and over if you're listening in on a 5 or 6 year old's virtual learning. But instead, I gave him the Legos. I said, hey, you do need to make sure that you pay attention. And so the child's fidgeting with the Legos. He's kind of putting them together and taking them apart, putting there, taking them apart. But now, as the teacher's talking, I think the teacher was saying, talking about letters like caterpillar. Is there any other letters that start with C? And then the child started to actually participate. The child actually, more than I had for the whole time before that I was observing, way more than he was participating before, to the point where, he was repeating almost everything that the teacher was saying. He was, when the teacher would ask, like, hey, does anyone have a letter that starts with letter? He would unmute himself and then say what the letter was. He was actually engaged and participating. And two things. One, from watching the child, for just observing the child before, before he had anything, he was playing with the headphones and playing with the screen, you would have thought that the child just didn't know any of this stuff. And just because it was too high of a level, the child just didn't want to engage because it was too hard for him. And two, you would have thought, just by observing, if you were observing and he wasn't, before he started to participate, because he didn't immediately start participating, but it was maybe like a couple minutes after, I think, when the teacher started to do some repeat, like back and forth, you would have thought it would have looked like to the untrained eye that he actually wasn't really paying attention. And I was actually questioning myself, like, is he actually paying attention, or is he just still focused? Is he just looking at the screen and just not really focused? Because he was looking at the screen, he was looking at the Legos, looking at the screen, looking at the Legos. But through when he actually started to participate, I was like, wow, he actually, like, he just needed something to hold, to touch, to feel, to do, so that he could focus. And when we gave him nothing to do, to touch or to feel, then he was so focused on trying to pay attention and failing that he couldn't hear what the teacher was actually saying, and he couldn't really fully participate. So that's kind of like my big 2 tips is, try to allow space for physical activity as much as possible, before, after, maybe even during a break. And then, if the child is showing you that if they're touching a bunch of stuff, they're fidgeting, give them something that's, minorly engaging that they can touch and feel. I think, Play-Doh could work too. So like a sensory bag could work too. Yeah. So something for them to touch and to feel so that they can focus on listening.
Miss Kaya, I think you have a question, but Chazz, you're getting a lot of love in the chat, just so you know. Sorry, Kaya, before you go on. And so many people are so in agreement with you in regards to like letting the children have something, even Cindy, who's with us last week, she's saying these are fantastic. You're speaking your language, observe and adapt. I think that's a key takeaway from you here, Chazz, and a lot of people are agreeing with. But Kaya, take it away, girl.
Thank you. So Chazz, I want to touch on a little bit about transitions. Being in the classroom myself, I know transitions were a very, very difficult time. And I mean, I don't think right now we have very many transitions. I kind of transitioned from like my couch behind me to my desk, which isn't really a transition. So I guess kind of 2-part question, maybe how can educators and families and parents help with these transitions, help manage them, and also managing maybe screen time and then not having screen time? What are some tips that you have? You mentioned you are working in a classroom with children who are doing distance learning, although you're in a classroom. How do you kind of manage that? Maybe if they want to go play games or something on the computer, what can educators and families do?
Okay. So, there's the larger transitions and there's smaller transitions. There's the transitions when you're going from like one place to another. There's a transition. So, let's talk about, do you want me to talk more about the like transitioning from like outside to inside? Do you want me to talk more about the transition from of doing a class and then doing an activity and then going back to class?
I think both. Our audience here probably would appreciate both, because we kind of have a mix where some have kids and some are in the classroom and vice versa. So yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna start with like the outside inside, just the transitions, the typical transitions from like one activity to another activity. And then I'll focus more on virtual learning, because everything that I'm gonna say is gonna probably is gonna apply more or less to the is gonna apply to the virtual learning. But then I'll talk about specifics. So the biggest thing about transitions for children, and really for people, for humans in general, is people need to be prepared for what's going to happen next, and they need to know what's going to happen next. They need to be able to, and it helps if they're able to visualize what happens next. And I was actually just talking to a parent about this yesterday, and I used to do, to help some of my kids transition from, outside to inside, because that can be really challenging for a lot of children and a lot of teachers, to stop what you're doing and then to do something else when you want to continue doing that fun thing that you're doing. One thing that I would do, that I used to do when I could, I would talk, like, because always after we came inside, there was the transition. It was lunch. The lunchtime was next. So I talked, we're gonna have lunch. What are we gonna have for lunch? All right, we're gonna have chicken nuggets and pasta, whatever. Oh, do you smell that coming from the kitchen? And I would even, if like lunch did come like a little, like before we went outside, I would even take the bowl and entice them with a little bit, like, ooh, look, you smell it. Oh man, that smells so good. I cannot wait to have these chicken nuggets. All right, let's put them away. Let's go outside and go play. We go outside and we go play. I'm like, all right. And then the warnings, right? Warnings are always good. Most children are good with 5-minute warnings, but some children need 10-minute warning, 5-minute warning, 1-minute warning, 30-second warning. All right, count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, right? And then whenever lines up, it's, I would do, because our classrooms are like prep, JK. And so I'd have the kids be a part of the transition too. I count down like 10, 9, and then once we got to 0, it'd be JK, line up, prep, line up, prep, kids, line up, and have the kids who are online like yell out to the rest of the class, so they were part of it. So part of it was fun to just get to the line and to like tell everyone else to come to line, and that would help. And then also, and they're visualizing, especially if I know a child in particular has a hard time with transitioning, I would probably go up to that child maybe 5 minutes before, what are you going to eat first? The chicken nuggets, or are you going to drink your milk? Like, what are you going to, so like I'm planting the seed in their mind to visualize what is about to come next. So when it is time to clean up, or when it is time to do the next thing, it's not, oh man, like I have to stop playing outside. It's, oh yes, I get to eat lunch. Now, virtual learning is not as an exciting thing to go towards as opposed to lunch, right? And so you may not be able to really excite them about going back to class, and that's reality. And I would warn people to not fake it and be like, but school is so fun. Don't you love virtual learning? Because it's inauthentic. Children know when you're not being real with them, and you should just be real. Acknowledge that it is hard. Acknowledge that I understand you don't want to do it. Like, it is tough to do virtual learning. And I know that you don't, I know that it's not something that you like, and you want to continue playing, and you want to go, like, be real, validate how they feel, because it's important. Because if you are always just focused on your adult agenda, then they're not going to trust the things that you say, and they're going to look at it from the filter of, oh, they just want, that teacher, that parent just wants me to do the thing that they want me to do, and they don't really care about what I care about. And sometimes, to be real, y'all, it's true. It's sometimes we just have our adult agenda, and we don't really care about what they care about. But when we care about what they care about, they will care more about what we care about. So, but one thing that you really can do is, one, routine. 2, preparing them for it, telling them, what's going to happen. 3, that I think is just really helpful, especially during these pandemic times, a timer. A timer is really helpful. And honestly, I would go getting especially if it's a visual timer, is even more beneficial, because time the concept of time is still really ambiguous, especially for younger children. And it's like 5 minutes can be like, is it 5 minutes, 5 hours? And especially us adults have a tendency to always tell kids 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and we really have them waiting for an hour. So, we don't really help them learn the concept of time sometimes. So having a visual timer can be really helpful too, so they can see what to expect, the routine. And then at the end of the day, like, letting know, like at the end of the day, like we are going to do something fun. Like, we are going to, like, I'm excited when virtual learning is over, when the day of virtual learning is over too. Now, honestly, when I'm doing virtual learning with the kids in there, like, I'm excited. Like, I'm honestly as elated as they are to be done with the school day. And I would, have some things to look forward to. One thing that we started to do that, and I don't know, like, if I should even say this on camera, this is going to be recorded, but I'm going to let you guys. No, we just had a conversation about this in this very office, but The Floor is Lava is a very popular game right now. I feel like it's making a comeback. And, like one thing that like I like to do and encourage, like at the end of the day, like maybe we'll play like The Floor is Lava and they get to like jump on the various things. And we actually made, I actually did something with the kids. This is kind of a tangent, but I think it's just fun thing to share so the kids are jumping on furniture. I'll say that, and I make sure there's no hazards, and I talk about like if there is a hazard, risky play is beneficial for children for lots of reasons. And so there's two things that we do have to like kind of watch out for is one, that they're being, careful and mindful of each other. And if they're not kind of pointing out and making observations, two is it's the conversation about the time and the place, like when, we're not always jumping on furniture, but there's a time and a place when we do it, and we can set up the game and we can do it. We can make space for it, and we can make time for it. And then three is that there's other children with various age groups in the school. So we also don't, and while I think the school agers can handle, like, okay, like time and place, and like, we're not always, I know that I can't always do this, but I can do it sometimes. And it's the game that we're playing. I kind of made a rule, part of the game, to say, like, when I say Andy's coming, that means they all have to sit down and like sit on the couch and then like follow like the rules that all like the younger children have to follow. And until they leave, and then like, okay, resume game. And they really love that. And if anyone knows, like I got that from Toy Story when Andy comes in and all the toys like lay down and act like toys. So
love it.
There's some tips.
Love it. Amazing, amazing. Lots of great tips there. I've been writing those down, and I'm like reflecting on my own practice as an educator as well. Chazz, what would be your like top tips for educators who want to support those families as we kind of navigate during this pandemic? If you could nail it down to like 3 or 4, like what would be your top tips for the families and educators?
Okay. And being concise is something that I constantly have to struggle with and I have to practice. So let's see how I do. Top tips. 1, since most people aren't dropping off in classrooms and parents aren't seeing teachers, if you can do a phone call, sometimes like a phone call in the middle of the day could be like great, just like having a conversation and just talking about like almost kind of like a conference, like that's really great. I've had the opportunity to have lots of phone calls. And sometimes it's the liaison between the teachers and we talk about other things, but that really does help build the connection. 1. 2, I know you guys, Hi Mama's your app, like definitely use the app and the pictures to make notes about what's going on. We may not be able to send, when artwork goes home, we may not be able to talk about it, but we can type a little message about like the process or something your child said about it. My favorite thing to say when a child shows, they'll take the artwork and they'll show you and be like, look what I did. And instead of like, I'll say, tell me about it, so that I'm not imparting like what I think. So it's a really open-ended kind of statement to them for them to really talk about what they're talking about. Because sometimes I make a mistake. I'm like, oh, I like the boat you made, and it's like, it's a dinosaur. So I don't do that anymore. I say, tell me about it. So the pictures, making phone calls, maybe even as you send artwork home, you can write a little something on the back, you know, sending assessments and things like that home. You know, taking pictures of your classroom because parents aren't seeing the classroom, and the classroom is really another way to communicate with parents. And talking and communicating to parents, not just when something bad is happening, but on the good things too. We shouldn't just be having conversations with parents just because, or only when there's an issue in the classroom. Because then every time you do talk, it's like, okay, what do you do now? And every time you talk to me, it's always something bad. And just like it's important for us to build a relationship with children, so that we can have a productive relationship, we can learn and grow. It's important to build that relationship with parents too. We're partners with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a big one. Amazing. Those are some really, really amazing tips. We wrote those down. We definitely want to remember those. Ria, did you want to hop in here?
I will. First, Chazz, so much love in the chat. Like, there's so many good things that are going through. People are loving it. I know we had connection issues earlier. Let's see if we can get your face back on here, because I'm sure people want to put name and face together. And I do apologize to all the folks out there that this was a bit of a rough, rocky connection over the over the beginning. So Chazz, if we can see if your video will work right now, because we've gotten notifications that should be working back again, and things should be okay on our system side. So if you want to hit the video and see if you can get back on. But before we dive in and we start to wrap up everything, Chazz, is there any last words, wisdom, advice? I've enjoyed having and hearing every bit about what you've been saying here today. And I know everybody in the chat has, I don't know if you've been able to scroll back and see, I know, you and Kai have been talking, but is there anything you want to leave us with? And I know that it's COVID times and, people can be a little bit down, but on the same side, there's so many good things that are coming out of this, and we will get through it all. So,
yeah, and probably because I have long answers, and now you guys.
No.
There was a question that you asked. I don't remember exactly. That you sent previously an email. I don't remember exactly what the question was, but I think it was like things to look out for in terms of behavior. And expect. And by the way, I thought my video was already on because I can see my video.
That's so good. No, we were having issues, so don't worry. It worked out for the better.
And that just means you guys have to have me on again.
I was gonna say, we just have to bring you back.
So to expect and to think about in terms of behavior and just things to just watch out for and be mindful of. And I actually have a podcast that I do, and it's interactive where it's kind of like this, so they can chat at the same time, but they also hop on video and have conversation too and ask questions. And I actually had a conversation with a preschool therapist about anxiety and depression in children and what it looks like. So if follow my podcast, Mr. Chazz's Leadership, Parenting, and Teaching podcast to see the whole conversation about that. Oh, I see you put it up on.
There we go.
And so we had a whole conversation about that. But, I want us to think about, so there's been a lot of reports of just more, depression happening and just people psychologically having a hard time with all this and staying in and not seeing people, and their routines are being thrown off. And when the pandemic started, it was when the pandemic really, now let me rephrase this, when quarantine started, it was really around spring was kind of just starting, and so the weather was actually getting better, which is actually good for our mental health and our psychological health. But now fall is here. Fall and winter are coming in, and seasonal depression is a real thing. And I've lost people to it. And I know I even see sometimes how, we're not able to go outside much because inclement weather. And there's there's what people say, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. which I would, take very seriously, think about that as we're moving into these, colder months, because it's not going to inspire. While maybe in the springtime when we're quarantining, the adults were like, oh yeah, let's go outside. Like, it's nice. At least we can go outside and play in the backyard. Maybe you can't see anyone, but we can go outside and play. I know adults especially don't want to go outside in, cold weather. And which means that children will probably spend less time outside.
Yeah.
It's getting cold and a little bit more, rainy. And children, it's not just children, like humans need to be outside and to just experience the weather and to breathe fresh air. We're not meant to be cooped up in houses all day, every day, right? And
yeah.
So I just want us to be really mindful that as the weather is changing, it's the perfect storm for some, triggering psychological illness disorders to really be pronounced and to show themselves. And so to really observe and really be aware of, the emotions of your children, and to really try to get outside and, put on the raincoat, the rain jacket, the rain boots, get the umbrella and experience the rain, experience the jumping in the puddles, experience, and that was my thing with the floor is lava. I don't always allow children to do the floor is lava thing, but
best game ever.
It is. But while this is a huge, memorable experience for everyone, I think that we need to make an extra effort to do those super fun, maybe out of the ordinary things, create those experiences for children that maybe they can have fond memories and be like, wow, I remember I wasn't able to see my friend, but I remember having, being able to, go in the creek and splash in puddles. And before I wasn't able to do that. And, my mom changed her mind, and that was so much fun. We were able to spend a lot of time outside. We were able to just explore the dirt. In terms of less screen time, I think we can replace a lot of screen time with a lot of sensory, especially if if you're one child at home, you could do water sensory, right? Get a big bucket or something like that, and put some towels down and allow them to scoop and pour cars in the water, and that can replace screen time. They'll do that for a long period of time, and then when they're done with that, and you still need a little bit more time to do your meeting, get some food coloring and change the color of the water. And
goes on after that.
Yeah, that'll engage them for a longer period. So.
Chazz, I love it. First of all, sensory was one of my favorite things to do in the classroom. And I know that in some places right now, they're not allowed due to COVID. In some places you are, it just really depends, but it's definitely been one of my biggest things. Chazz, you've gotten so much love in the chat. I know we had a bit of an odd, connection issue today, but honestly, it has been absolutely fantastic having you. We want to have you back on. There's been requests to have you back on, so it's definitely going to happen. But one of the big ones I want to give is Lucinda, who we actually had on last week. She gave I think we all feel the same thing right now is, sorry, Andrea, my apologies. Lucinda, you're coming next. Thanks so much, Chazz, for a very valuable training. I really enjoyed it and appreciated that you made it so fun. Thank you for your wisdom, experience, and personable presentation. Thank you so much for being a part of today and sharing with the team here. It's been absolutely fantastic having you. Please, everyone, check out Chazz's podcast. I've watched him on TikTok. I know Kaya's watched him all over TikTok. She's following him there. Please do not be shy to check out Chazz online because he's got some great things there. And Lucinda, this is your shout out I wanted to give on the days when you're feeling down. Think of one positive thing, one simple thing that puts a smile on your face, and you might have to dig deep to find it, but it's there. And I totally, totally agree. Folks, let's make the certificate available for you here. It is shared in the files section. So if you're looking for that guide, download it there. We'll be ready with the show notes as well tomorrow. So don't be shy if you can't grab it today. It will be there. And Kaya, I'm going to give you 1 sec here. What's next? Next week, we're going to be talking with 2 very interesting folks here about building relationships, pandemic style, of course, but especially with families right now, to kind of tag on to everything Chazz has been chatting about today. We thought it'd be a good one. But I'll let you follow up again here, Kaya, with the social media before we hit the road.
Thank you so much. Chazz looks like he's in the classroom too, so we'll wrap it up quickly. As we mentioned,
I just had to answer a phone, but go ahead.
They called you multi-Chazker. So multitasker. Roxana was saying that. I loved it. So for folks who follow us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, we are running a contest right now. We want to see your socially distanced classrooms and activities. So all you have to do, snap a photo, tag us, make sure we can see it. And we're going to announce the winner live on November 12th, and make sure you're following us on Facebook.
Ooh.
Remember,
get out and vote.
Maria, I love it. No, we are all in this together. Let's stay healthy. Let's stay safe. But most importantly, let's vote. If you were eligible to vote, get out there. Get out there. We need those votes. So,
hey,
what?
If I can just plug in my coaching service,
yes.
Please.
So it is, I do not only coach parents, I also coach teachers. Like I said in the beginning, I'm super passionate about especially helping new teachers, but even veteran teachers. And it is, you can go to www.patreon.com/Mr. Chazz, and you can schedule a coaching session with me, and we can talk one-on-one. You can talk about what's happening in your classroom and just different things that you can do. Maybe you're having trouble with transitions in the classroom. Maybe you're having trouble with doing circle time in the classroom and all the kids are walking away and you don't know what to do. Or maybe you're having trouble trying to, create a COVID-ready classroom and you don't know how to meet the needs of your children and also meet the the executive order or maybe what parents are asking you to do. We can work together. I've been working with so many schools and so many children and so many teachers. So this is a conversation that I'm so used to. This is what I do. I'm so passionate about helping. So if you are interested in that, please reach out, schedule a session, and I'm here for you. You also get other things that are included in it too. But I will, online classes, exclusive podcasts. Janet Lansbury is actually going to be on Patreon only kind of podcast with me where people are going to be able to ask her questions specifically. So yeah, lots of exciting things. I know a lot of people are fans of her. I'm actually her right now. So I'm actually going to also be on her podcast as well. So look out for that. But yeah, I'm done.
Chazz, you're everywhere, man. You're everywhere. I dropped a link to your site there in the chat, but we're also going to make sure it's all included in the show notes. So if anybody's looking for it, they can definitely reach out to you because we want to connect those people up with you. So once again, Kaya said it, stay healthy, stay safe, get out there and vote. And Chazz, from everyone at Hi Mama, thank you for joining us today. And we're going to be in contact because you're coming back.
Great.
All right.
Can't wait to see.
Thanks all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.